I know what it feels like. You've just awakened, or perhaps you've been spiritual your entire life, and you're looking for a partner, but you're not sure whether you should be looking for a partner who is also spiritual like yourself, or whether you should open yourself up and be open to anyone out there. So in today's video, I'm going to explain a bit about my own experiences, and also I'm going to break down the pros and cons of finding someone who isn't spiritual or someone that is spiritual. So I'll start with my own experiences. I am in a happy relationship. I've been in a relationship for the last 3 years with my partner, and we live together. We've lived together for a couple of years now, and she has absolutely zero interest meditation or spirituality in any way or any form. Positive thing that I would say is that she's very open. She's very, or not open in terms of her own beliefs, but she's very accepting is probably the better way of putting it. She's accepting of my decisions in that regard. She's accepting of my beliefs, and she never tries to put me off in regard to my spiritual journey. I have always been surrounded by meditation and spirituality. It's not something that's new to me. I was introduced to meditation when I was 6 years old by my dad, who was a meditation teacher, and I was also taught by his teacher, who was a meditation master. And so it's something that I've been involved in my entire life, and I've been teaching meditation for about the last 5 years now. So fully immersed in this way of life, but my partner is totally opposite in that regard. I'm going to break down some pros and cons that provide some perspective on this, and hopefully give you some points to think about in your own pursuit or your own search for a partner if that's what you're looking for. So let's start off with the pros. I would say having a partner who is not spiritual keeps you very grounded. I think it's very easy when you've been on some kind of awakening, you've had an awakening of some kind, to be up in the clouds a little bit and be a bit disconnected from reality and normal things that are going on. You can find yourself a little bit in your own world, and that's okay for short periods, and perhaps it's okay for longer periods, but I think for many people who want to interact and live in the world in a normal way, you're not planning on becoming a sannyasin or disconnecting from worldly life entirely. I think it's useful. In fact, I think it's absolutely essential that you learn to live in the world and blend your spiritual practices, your spiritual life with normal worldly things. And having a partner who is not interested in spirituality, it kind of forces you in a way to be more grounded. This is a real overlooked pro to being with someone who isn't interested in spirituality in that way, because they will not talk to you about it. They'll be talking to you about normal mundane life things, and that's good. That you kind of need that. It will test your faith. If you're someone who has a belief in God, just having a simple belief in God or a higher power, and then your partner not having that same belief, if ever you talk about it together, it provides a bit of a test for you in terms of how strong is your faith, how strong is your belief. And I've experienced this in my own life when we've had simple conversations about, do you believe in God? No, I don't. That's my partner's response, is that no, I don't. I just think that when we die, that's it. And that's okay. That's her belief. I don't need to enforce mine. But it also makes me then reflect on my beliefs and think, does it make sense? Is it right for me? Is it correct that I believe in God? And for me, it's just allowed me to strengthen that belief and strengthen that connection that I have with God, which is, for me, the connection that I have. That's the source, if you like, that I communicate with, that I pray to, etc. But everyone has their own unique way with this. Yours might be different to mine. Whatever it is, it will allow you to strengthen that connection, or at least it will give you a test. And from that test, it'll either strengthen or weaken your faith. For me, it's strengthened it, but I think having tests are good, because I think there will always be doubts that creep in. There'll always be things that are gonna potentially influence you to let go of your journey and your faith. And it will test your belief, it will test your spiritual beliefs, but I think that's a good thing. It challenges you to be less selfish. I think it's so easy when you're on this kind of journey to be very self-centered. It can be all about you. The lens is always on yourself, how your meditation practice is progressing, how you feel. I think there always needs to be some balance, and having a more selfless approach is a very positive attribute to develop in order to progress along the spiritual path anyway. So having a partner that isn't interested in these kind of topics gives you an opportunity to let go and put the lens on them, put the lens onto someone else, and not be always thinking about yourself. As good as all that sounds, often there can be cons to being in a relationship with someone who isn't very spiritual. And one of those is that it can be very isolating. People can feel very isolated and disconnected if they're going through a big awakening or having big changes happen within themselves, and they can't talk to their partners about this. And it wouldn't be right to keep, offloading onto them when they're not the right person for that. So I would advise you, if this is you, by the way, that it's very beneficial to find friends or have a mentor or a teacher of some kind that you can talk to about this who isn't your partner. It will take the strain away in this regard. Yeah, it can be very isolating if your partner isn't interested in this, and this can be a con for many people. Another drawback is that they might not understand your lack of interest in worldly pursuits and generally things going on in the world. Many of you may have noticed that as you progress spiritually, as you elevate your level of consciousness, naturally you become less attached to the world, you become less interested in the world. I remember when this started to happen to me, I was quite concerned because when I was younger I'd always been very driven and motivated to achieve things in the world, but then as I started to progress in a spiritual way, I found myself being less interested, and I was thinking, this is weird. I'm not like unmotivated or lazy, I just am not interested in as much in like achieving things from a worldly point of view. I was more interested in understanding myself. And if you found that happen to yourself, you may find when you have a partner, or if you were to have a partner who wasn't spiritual, that they are still quite attached to the world and they're quite interested in the world still. There can be a bit of a clash there when they want to do things all the time, and this has definitely been something that I've had to work on. And I tend to use this as a way of developing more selflessness in myself. I think just generally we should serve other people and give them your time and do things that you don't always want to do. They might not be okay with you meditating and you having certain beliefs. Now, this is a slightly more serious problem, I would say, and something that probably isn't a great starting point if you're looking to enter a relationship with someone who isn't happy with you meditating and having beliefs. I would say that's probably a step too far, in my own opinion. But if you are with someone currently, and then you've had a bit of an awakening and you've started doing these things like meditation and your partner's not happy with it, that can be quite a tricky hurdle to navigate. I've found that personally in my relationship, my partner has been very accepting of all of the things that I want to do, even though she's not interested. And I think that's been crucial to the success that we've had so far. And if that acceptance isn't there, then that is a very tricky position that you're being put in. And I guess you have to tread gently. You have to reflect and look at what it is that you're trying to take on in terms of what the practice is, and is it influencing your partner negatively? Are you not giving them the time that you were before because you're now doing this practice? Or what is it about it? Is there a way that you can do it more privately, or you can shorten the time that you do it for, or you can do it at another time of the day that's not going to impact them? I guess there's always ways we can find a balance and we can work with the situation, but it might be that this is a real hurdle and this is a big negative to being in a relationship with someone who just doesn't understand your pursuits in a spiritual context. You'll be growing and changing so much that you might find that you don't really resonate with each other anymore, or you're not a good match anymore because you're constantly changing, you're constantly growing. There are lots of aspects of yourself that are shifting, and the person that they maybe fell in love with isn't there anymore. You do grow at an exponential rate when you are doing practices like meditation regularly. This really changes you, and lots of aspects of yourself will be shifting and changing and growing, and this can be quite intimidating for your partner, but it also can be off-putting because there might be parts of you that are changing in ways that they're not happy about, they're not ready for, and they don't understand. This can be quite a negative thing, and I guess this is more specific to people who are currently in a relationship, but equally it's something to bear in mind if you're going to be going into a relationship, that you are going to be constantly evolving. And I know that this happens naturally to people anyway, but I feel when you're evolving in a spiritual way, you're moving further away from the normal way of doing things rather than growing in a parallel way with each other. So some reflections that I think will help to round off those points that I've been through there. The first one is find the middle way. extremes in any situation, in any regard, in any context, I don't think are very beneficial in the long run for maintaining relationships. Finding some balance, finding a bit of a middle way with introducing your spiritual life and that part of you that you love, and weaving it into normal ways of living is a healthy balance to life. I think it provides balance, and I think it will allow you to maintain a relationship with someone who's not necessarily spiritual. Accept that her beliefs are her beliefs, and I don't need to enforce mine. We can have different beliefs and still live happily together, and that's totally cool. We don't need to be arguing about it. We don't need to be bringing it up. We can have different opinions on things and still live together perfectly happily. That's ideal. Like, that's life, isn't it? My neighbors might be Muslim, my neighbors on the other side might be Christian, and we should learn to live together happily in a relationship. If you can bring that mindset and that approach into play, it can be very beneficial. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and fire away in the comments if you've had any experience of dating someone who's spiritual or likewise not spiritual, and it's been an issue or it's been a success. Then please let me know in the comments. I'm interested to hear how other people have got along with this. Hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much.